Sorry. So here in this introduction, remember, he's telling us he was hated. He gives us specific examples. But again, thinking about point of view, some of these examples, how realistic are they? He does tell us that, again, if you look here on line 10, in the end, the sneering yellow faces of young men that met me everywhere, the insults hooted after me when I was at safe distance, got badly on my nerves. So think about what this is setting up. He is nervous. He is jittery. Feels like he's hated. He's got this victim martyr kind of thing going on, right? And again, look at the word choice, these sneering yellow faces. If you want to talk about racism, look at all the times that he describes these people as the other, right? As different. He describes them by things that are tied to their ethnicity and their culture that are different from his. And he does so usually in a way that makes them evil or pagan or lesser, right? And that reveals his own, elitism, right? And then he tells us again about the Buddhist priests, that they were the worst, because it seems like they just had nothing to do other than to make his life miserable, right? So then we get this next paragraph, and again, this paragraph is a perfect example of how you develop and prove an idea. So his topic sentence is, all this was perplexing and upsetting, right? And then the next section, what he does is he explains what does he mean by this and perplexing and it's upsetting. And he says, for that time I had already made up my mind that imperialism was an evil thing, and the sooner I chucked up my job and got out of it, the better. So this is why he's being perplexed and upset. He's already decided that he is part of this imperialistic force and it's evil, right? Then he tells us, theoretically and secretly, he was for the Burmese and against their oppressors, the British. And notice how he talks about the British as if he's separate from them, right? He didn't say about us, he says the British, right? That's kind of an interesting way of separating himself from it. And I think also theoretically and secretly are important word choices here. If something is theoretical, then you understand it maybe up here, but you've never put it in practice. So and then it's secret, so it's hidden. So his feelings of support for the Burmese, he's never acted on them, it's theoretical, and he's never spoken about them, it's secret. So when you consider that, it seems a bit, strange that he expects the Burmese to treat him any differently than their oppressors, the British, because it seems like he's never done anything or shared anything that would let them know that he's on their side, right? So that's in a very important passage there. He then talks about his job. So again, what's upsetting and perplexing? Here's another example of proving it. He hates it more bitterly than he can even make clear. And then he gives us reasons why. So now he's going to give us examples to show why he has these feelings. So he talks about the conditions, the way these people are treated, the horrifying, way that they are. And then he also talks about himself, again, proving why he's perplexed, right? So he's upset, but he's kind of not sure why he's perplexed about all of these things, right? He says, I could get nothing into perspective. He says, I had a horrible feeling of guilt, but I was young and ill-educated, and I had to think out my problems in the utter silence that is imposed on every Englishman in the East. So he's saying that, I didn't have a lot of experience. I was young. I didn't have enough education, right? I'm just kind of thrown in here, not prepared. And he says, I couldn't even ask for help. They impose on me this silence that I'm just supposed to act like I know everything, right? And so this is why he can't get it into perspective. He has nothing that'll help him understand what's going on to help him decide, well, what's right and what's wrong, right? He's faced by the British that he sees what they're doing, and inside of him he knows that's horrible. We shouldn't be doing that. But on the other side, he has all these Burmese that are treating him bad too, and so he can't really accept them either. He's kind of in this catch-22, right? He says all he knew is that he was stuck between his hatred of the empire that he served, right, and his rage against the evil-spirited little beast who tried to make his job impossible. So again, look at those word choices, right? He says, and part of what made it perplexing, he said, was that he had the idea of the British Raj, so this imperial government, as something that would last forever, in secula secularum, right, for all eternity, right? And think about that. I mean, think about your country, all right? I have a hard time grasping that America would ever end, right? Logically, I know that no empire lasts forever, that there are going to be moments where we're probably going to lose our place and it could be that we might be invaded. I mean, I know that that is possible, but emotionally, I just can't ever imagine. And a lot of that is that I don't want to imagine that thing. So he's kind of got that, even though he sees in front of him that it's horrible, it's evil. He also has this thing like it's never going to die. Because it's been lasting a long time, hundreds of years. The British Empire has been the most powerful country in the world, right? So he's kind of like, well, I can't go up against that. I'm stuck in this system, and this is just the way it is, right? And then he's also looking at the other part, and he has this wanting, he says, to stick a bayonet into these Buddhist priests' guts. I mean, he's got this violent response to them. Like he said, this rage, because they treat him so poorly. And he's like, I'm a victim here too, right? And then what he tells us at the end, right? So remember, he started off, here's what he's trying to prove. He's perplexed and upset. He explains what that means. He gives us examples. And now he's analyzing it, right? This is why. This is the problem. It has led me to this thing that, well, I don't believe it's ever going to end. And I have this rage to react against these people. And then he tells us, and every Englishman, every official feels the same way, right? So he shows that it's not just me. This is a product of this environment, right? In the next paragraph, this is where